The top 5 highest salaried players of all time are all on one roster now.
Yeah,
with
the second
Clippers.
the L.A. Clippers.
Yeah.
That trade does nothing for me.
Russ, Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. It's kind of crazy.
It does nothing for that trade. Does that trade move the needle for anybody?
Those are the 2019 NBA champs.
Oh, God.
Well, Daryl Morey's got to be happy. Does that? I'm curious how that lands on Embiid's, lap.
Don't know.
Like,
He's got to be tired of
That's
it.
what I'm saying. A bunch of used parts.
We should get Kate Scott on to talk about James Harden.
She's too busy yelling, "Fly, Eagles, fly."
She was jacked when James Harden got there. How you feeling now, Sixer fans? No city in the world deserves that more than Philadelphia.
Absolutely incredible.
Oh, they deserve it all. They had the Phillies lose. No, I'm not going to talk about their Eagles because their Eagles are tough. A.J. Brown, ooh-wee. But I want to talk about the Dub Shafty.
I do feel bad for Bob Myers in 2 years when he has to rebuild that Clipper team.
Hey, somebody say the Dubs are done? Let's talk about CP3 for a second. Because when that trade happened, you blew me up. Mully blew me up. I'm leaving swim class with baby Chaz. I was disheveled. I was in disarray.
He's a top 5. I couldn't stand you athlete in my life in any sport.
I couldn't believe it.
What do you think?
I was just, what? The Warriors with Chris Paul, they really moved? What?
Is shocking.
And it took me about 24 hours, maybe even less than that.
Okay.
Kind of just, all right, take a deep breath. What does he bring to the table?
Yeah, but were you talking yourself into it because we didn't have a choice? Because that's kind of where I felt like I was talking myself into it as opposed to like, I'm all in. And then after Friday night, I was like, and even in game 1, I could see, hey, this is going to trend. But for me, it was the King game where I'm like, I'm all in.
Because
I'm all in.
Yeah, because even when Drew Holiday became available, we started talking like, oh, you can flip Chris Paul for Drew Holiday?
We all did that.
Why not? And you know what? I'm glad that didn't happen. I really am. Because what Chris Paul has done to the second unit, we have a bench again.
Yes.
We do. It reminds me of the Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala bench mob with David West and Zaza, or maybe a little JaVale McGee or some Festus Ezeli. Look, you got Chris Paul. He's got Kuminga playing well. Moody's playing well. You look last night, no Clay, no Kuminga. So you're out there with Trace Jackson Davis. You're out there with Moody. You're out there with GP2. And they are balling. Balling. So the point guard, 33 assists, 6 turnovers. 33 assists. Let's focus. I know it's new studio, guys. We're all frazzled here because the sales staff is having a meeting. They're loud. I don't care. I got my headphones turned up. I can get loud too. Chris Paul, baller right now. 888-957-9570. I want to ask Dub Nation, did you believe that Chris Paul can mesh so quickly with this unit? Whether he starts, comes off the bench, it does not matter. He's finishing quarters. He's dropping dimes. The mid-range jumper is now starting to fall. Did you think that it would work this fast with Chris Paul?
Here's the part where I think I underestimated it. Clearly, Kuminga and Moody, and like those two in particular, are all the way bought in on learning from CP3. And that was a big deal. The other part was like Steph Curry. Like I was very interested to see like, oh, Steph and Chris Paul, they have a lot of respect for each other. And, guys say the right things. They're veterans. They can kind of mask their feelings. It feels very sincere. Like, and I'm just going off what I'm watching on television. Who knows? Maybe they don't even talk to each other when the TV's not there and they're at practice. But it sure as hell feels like they're pulling the rope in the same direction. And then like Klay Thompson feels like he's comfortable because now he doesn't have to be a facilitator at the top of the key. He can come off of screens when CP3's playing alongside of him. I think he knows he's going to get great looks. And if he just kind of continues to move without the ball, he doesn't have to press to get shots. He's going to get them organically. And so seeing everybody buy in, that to me has been very surprising. Because, there's a lot of young guys.
Yeah, but I wasn't surprised about the buy-in from the veterans because last year ended with a sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah, but they've got ego.
They wasted an opportunity last year to win a 5th championship. They had the team to do it. They didn't do it. They didn't get it done. There was no camaraderie. It was a mess last year. We get it. So I didn't have any problem. I didn't think the veterans, I knew they would buy in. how will they mesh with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody and bring them along?
You weren't at least a little skeptical on Dre and CP3? Just a little?
Nah, because Dre got his money.
Yeah, I still was.
And obviously there was a disconnect with Draymond and Jordan Poole, and they have all said it. They needed a leader with that second unit.
Yes.
Jordan Poole may become a leader one day.
Well, and
I think it's fair to say that maybe he wasn't ready for that role. We were all around with Jordan Poole. We was all around Jordan Poole last year.
Well, we tried.
Jordan Poole was not right, and Jordan Poole, from a maturity standpoint, just wasn't able to lead that second unit. Just wasn't able to do it.
But wasn't the biggest question heading into the end of the year, like, is CP3 truly going to embrace the bench role?
Yeah, and I told. What did I say?
No, you were on it, but I was. Look,
right, because
I'll tell you what
makes
I
a big deal.
I wanted
about
to
it.
see it.
Yeah, and everybody wanted to see it, but everybody was like, CP3. Yeah, and I'm with Eminem on YouTube. Only concern now is, can we get healthy for the playoffs?
Well, that's where
and that's a long way away. But
yeah.
Chris Paul right now, last night, you look at his minutes, 25 minutes. That's perfect. Perfect. The other night in Houston, 28 minutes. That's perfect. Perfect. And Chris Paul wants to win. He's in his 19th season. He sees the system, and he's going to play important minutes. When it was nut-cracking time against Sacramento, who was on the floor?
And I wanted him out there.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
When it was nut-cracking time against the Rockets in the last 2 minutes, who was on the floor?
Yeah.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Chris Paul's going to be fighting. Wiggins had an interesting quote. Anthony Slater, when I have Slater on, when we have Slater? Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah.
Anthony Slater's going to join us. And in his article about Chris Paul embracing that role because they had the team meeting before the season, the big six, the six starters, Looney, Wiggins, Clay, Steph, Dre, Chris Paul. And Wiggins had a quote after Sacramento. Basically said this, or after the Houston game on Sunday. Wiggins said, look, I know I wasn't out there to close, and Steve Kerr said it's going to be a field thing, game-by-game thing, but Wiggins said something that was very important. It's something that I keep saying, even at the summit. If they win, there will be no problem with the finishing lineup. If they win. These guys will buy in, if they win, to whoever's out there in the finishing lineup. And it's going to be different. We've seen Wiggins not in the finishing lineup. We've seen Kuminga out there in the finishing lineup. We've seen Chris Paul out there. I'm interested to see what happens when Clay's not out there in the finishing lineup. May not happen. You may still have him out there because of the spacing that it provides with his three-point shot. But Chris Paul, it works. It is working with the second unit. It is all connected. And then you talk about optionality, that they use that word optionality all offseason. I'm seeing lineups where there's Steph Curry, GP2, and Chris Paul in the backcourt. Now the cynic and the critic will say, hey, they're too small out there. But we know Gary Payton II plays big.
Much bigger, yeah.
And you got two other guys, whether it's Looney, Saric, Trace Jackson-Davis now. We'll get to him in just a second. But now all of a sudden you got a three-guard lineup with GP2 picking up full court, Chris Paul handling the rock, and Steph Curry coming off screens. It looks beautiful. And now GP2's got the confidence again in his corner three. I can't believe it's come together this fast.
I would agree. And I don't know. Look, again, having faith in the veterans is deserved. They've earned that benefit of the doubt. I was a little skeptical because, like, getting along has been kind of an issue the last year. And, even with Draymond and Durant, there were times where they didn't get along. And so I was very interested to see, like, first road trip, are they going to scuffle a little? Is it going to look a little more, I don't know, difficult? Seeing them win against, now, New Orleans didn't have Brandon Ingram. So right. I think that's a team that's missing. I would say he's their best player, but you could say it's Zion, fine, like whatever. And then the Rockets aren't very good. But that's a young team at the beginning of the year who's going to fight tooth and nail. Şengün, by the way, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. I like him.
Yep. And the biggest thing is, Şengün with the Houston Rockets, he's tough. And look, the Warriors didn't have Jonathan Kuminga. They didn't have Klay Thompson. So your rotation was a little funky, but you know what? It worked out because you got Podziemski out there grabbing 9 rebounds. You got Trace Jackson-Davis damn near dropping a double-double. Here's the deal with the biggest thing with Chris Paul. The biggest thing. The live ball turnovers have been eliminated.
100%.
And they're winning the points off turnovers.
100%.
They're winning the points off.
Wouldn't you say shot selection is so much better too? Just as a team.
Well, that
second unit yesterday, Podziemski and Jackson Davis was out there. CP3 was out there. The ball was hopping, right?
Was hopping.
And instead of just hopping recklessly and then a guy takes an ill-advised shot, it was like, oh, I'll pass up a good shot to get a great shot.
And a smaller team yesterday out-rebounds the Pelicans by 25. 64-39. So I like what they're doing. Turnovers are down, and then the passing numbers. Remember, I gave you the passing numbers. The Warriors want to get to 321 passes per game. Yesterday, it was back at 310. So they're getting the passes back up. You know, there's not dribble. But even when they do that with Chris Paul in the pick and roll, and the shot clock is winding
methodical.
down. It is. They're getting good
Yeah.
shots because of CP3. So you're not turning the ball over. You don't have the live ball turnovers. I'll have the points off turnover stat in just a second because they're winning that category. They're rebounding the basketball better and the balance offensively. There's so many games where last year you'll get 50 to 55 three-point attempts and 95 field goal attempts total. That's too much. That's unbalanced. That's too many threes. The balance is now back. You know, the balance is now back.
You're
at the
omitting
scene.
the best part of CP3.
What's that?
You get all of the crappy calls you hated.
You do get some
Admit it.
calls.
You get all of them. The one where he jumps in front of a defender as he's dribbling and slows down, and then that guy runs him over, and then he puts both arms up. I mean, he's talking to the officials nonstop, and we're getting all of those little cheap, ticky-tacky, get your team into the bonus fouls. Like, those are very important throughout the course of a dog, the dog days of the NBA. It's very important to be able to get those. And I'm going to be real. For years, I hated them. The fact that we're getting them, I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Let's go.